Hey, what's up? In the next few minutes, I'm going to help you make some decisions if you're interested in getting a career in the information technology field. Hi, my name is Shad Sluter, and I'm a professor of computer science and software development at Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, Arizona. And so I deal with these questions all the time with my students about how to get the best job for what fits your skills. And so we're going to talk about IT careers or information technology careers here. So if you would like this kind of information, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and click the bell for alerts so that you can be aware of new information each week. So first of all, what are the roles that you could pick if you were joining the information technology field? So you probably already are looking at this because you like computers in some way, and so you're right that there is a computer component. So when people use the word information technology, and then you see a shortened form of it called IT, they might not necessarily be the same thing. So information technology refers to pretty much anyone that works with hardware on computers, software, engineering, any kind of technology that relates to digital media. But IT is a special subset of that is more about servers and PCs and networks. Then there's a software development career, which is about programming. So another category is computer or electrical engineering, which is about maybe robotics and integrated circuits and software that makes that hardware work. Then there's a category we're going to call DevOps, which is about hosting and serving information on the internet, on the cloud. And so cloud services and deploying applications is what DevOps is. And then finally, there's a category called management, which is over all of these. And so we'll talk about the career paths and about some of the things that these specialize in each of their categories. So first of all, let's talk about the IT category. Starting at an entry-level job, you would probably find yourself in the desktop support. So you're going to repair PCs, or you're going to be on the phone helping people. So this is a customer service job. Things break or things need to be installed, and you're the person to do it. A promotion from that would be a server administrator. So this is kind of the back room. This is where the server is. This is where the more expensive hardware is. This is more specialty. So you're not just working with a desktop computer that you've seen since your days of elementary school. These are specialized computers. Then there's a network engineer. So a network engineer is probably a promoted administrator from the servers. So a network engineer is responsible for the switches, for the routers, for the wiring, for the protocols that go through there. Think about information security. This starts to become an important part of the job. There's probably budgeting in there. And then there was a step up from that, we would call it, as our network and solutions architect. And so they're really network engineers that design new systems, that create products for new installations. You might ask yourself, what's the difference between a solution and a product? Well, a solution usually costs more, and so a product is really the same thing. How about cybersecurity? So in every one of these roles here in the IT category, security is obviously important, from the desktop person who's working with antivirus software to the network architect who is making sure that everything is designed right. But there is also a cybersecurity specialist, and you can even get a degree in this, or probably a master's degree, something that would be above and beyond the usual installation and maintenance of a network system. So cybersecurity is kind of a senior role. And obviously it's super important, and it's one of those roles that's growing more important each day. So now let's switch into the software development role. So when I said IT earlier, that's what I meant when I said information technology is all about servers, PCs, networks, and routers. However, information technology sometimes includes software development. So people would say, hey, you're in a tech job, right? Yeah, I'm a software developer. So a software developer is going to be coding all the time. He's going to be working on a computer. He's not going to be traveling around quite as much, but there is certainly a part of technology there. So what does a software developer do? Well, obviously they're going to be making applications. They're going to be working on the web. They're going to work on mobile, probably both. Sometimes they work on just the servers. There is a division sometimes of labor between what's called the front end and a back end developer. So the front end developer is responsible for designing the user interface. And so you can think of it as kind of the artistic part of the thing. It's the ease of use. It's the forms that you fill in. It's the graphs that you see. It's the menus that you click on. But then there's the back end, which is the logic and the data. And so the code behind the application is probably what sets it apart. So pretty much I could say anybody can create a web form. You can copy and paste it from the internet, for goodness sakes. But to make a back end work, you have to understand your business problem. You have to code the database to work correctly. That's where the optimization is going to occur, if your application runs quickly or slowly. And then if you are wanting to be even more employable, you do both. You do front end, back end, and you call yourself a full stack. So the stack is that the user interface is at the top, and then there's the business logic, and then at the bottom would be the data logic, and so the data storage. So the full stack is an entire application. So a full stack developer is obviously going to be well paid and more senior. Now, an important part about software development is to think about who you're developing your software for, because there's a huge variety of software out there. So you think of the construction companies, what kind of tools do they work with? So they're going to obviously have architects, but then you think of the management of their business. So they have inventory, they have work hours, they have safety issues, they have project management, they have communication. So all of that is software designed specifically for them. Now you think of like a medical issue. You want to have PCs in the hospital. What kind of security and what kind of privacy issues are there? What kind of needs do you need to work with? You think of your customers. Do nurses actually prefer, do they like technology? It's completely different developing for them than it would be as if you were trying to create something for a bunch of gamers. And so the audience, is what I'm trying to say, is your job will be drastically different depending on what kind of company you work for. So let's take a moment for UPS, or maybe any kind of transportation company. So what kind of needs do they have? Obviously they have tight deadlines. They have to be accurate. There has to be information provided to the management so that they can make decisions on what to buy and who to hire and how much gas to purchase and what the demand's going to be. So the idea of a software developer knowing the business that he or she is working in is super important. And here's another client. So you're working for teachers. Do you understand how a teacher works, what they think, what their priorities are? And so when you are making software, it's not in isolation. You have to think about who is your customer. So here's an example of a restaurant. So now let's move on to another category of software development. So we're going to call this embedded systems. So embedded systems is software that is embedded into a chip. And so all these devices that you see on the screen have programs. They could have been written in software like Java or a language like C++. But the point is that the software and the hardware integrate closely. And so an embedded systems programmer is going to be working on a different kind of application. So embedded systems. There's operating systems and other things too. Let's move on though to another tech degree. So if you are in engineering, and especially electrical engineering or computer engineering, obviously you are a software developer as well. So once again, I'm going to put embedded systems on the list, even the top of the list, because a embedded program is going to make that piece of hardware actually function. So hardware and software integration is a big part of their job. These people are going to create device controllers, and so sometimes you would know that is your firmware, or that's what you install to make your device function properly. So robotics and microprocessors and aerospace, these are all tech jobs that relate closely to programming and with technology that you would see in your programming days. So let's go to the next category here. We're going to call this DevOps. And the diagram here on the screen is supposed to show you that there is a process that they need to follow. It's a continuous process. So when a piece of software is delivered to their customer, it's usually put online, a web app, for example. That web app is really never finished. There's always upgrades, there's new enhancements, there's security changes, and every single change has to go through a process. They have to code it, they have to test it, they have to deploy it. And increasingly, this is done with automation. So a DevOps person is kind of a crossover between an IT person and a programmer. So the IT person understands the networks and understands the servers and the operating systems on those servers. And then they also develop the code that goes there. So they know how it's tested, what the functions mean, what the language capabilities are. And so a DevOps person usually is another senior role, somebody that has a lot of experience of deploying apps, and they want to make sure that they get it done right. Now, here is another question. So you're interested in the IT field. Let's ask you more specific. So if you did get some kind of a job as an IT person, whether that's programming or IT itself or in the engineering world, what kind of company do you think wants to hire you? So there's pure software companies. So you think of people that create software and sell it. Microsoft is a software company. Google, Apple, well, they're kind of a hardware company, but the idea here is that these are pure tech. They sell databases, they sell applications. And so these are the core assets of their business. And so it's somewhat of an advantage to be in the core part of the business, because if you're not, you're a support person, you're a cost center, you're not the product, you're kind of a ancillary addition to the company, and you get overlooked because you're not really the core. So another kind of company that would be core business for IT is what we would call IT companies. Now I picked a few of these that are strictly into the infrastructure. So Verizon obviously is a telecommunications company, which is all IT work. It has to do with radios, networks, security, the whole package. And so Verizon is really a networking company. Citrix is a company that provides what they call thin clients. It's providing network services. Cisco is the networking company. And other companies like 3GC is just they are a consulting company, and their main product is to provide solutions and products for other companies. And so if you want to work in IT, this might be a kind of a list. There's hundreds of these kind of companies. They're in every city and everywhere. They provide consulting services to other companies. And so they hire network engineers and they hire network designers and security people. That's IT work. Now, you can also ask what kind of company uses tech as, let's say, a half of their product or a hybrid part of their product. And so let's look at these companies. Airbnb, Amazon, Carvana, Rocket Mortgage, and Netflix. Why did I pick those? There's a lot of them like them. But if you think of, let's say, Airbnb, what is their product? Well, Airbnb doesn't own a single hotel room. They own an application. But really, the application by itself is not the product either, because they have all kinds of customer service. They are linking people together with their app. And Amazon, what kind of a company is Amazon? Is it a technology company? Well, they sell everything. They're basically Walmart on the internet. But they're considered a tech company because that's what makes their business go. Carvana is another example. They're here in Phoenix. What do they sell? They sell used cars, but in a way that is only because they have a website and they have a system to make that website work. Another great example of these tech embedded companies are what's called fintech or financial technology companies. So Rocket Mortgage, for example, is about their application, and it's about using finances to go with it. So E-Trade and companies that do stock market trading really are software companies, but their finance is their product. So why would you want to work for a company like this? Well, if technology is you're the technology nerd kind of a person, you become part of the main core of the product again. And so I've heard of a rule somewhere, I'm not sure what it's called or who invented it, but it's called the one away rule. So think of your job that you do or you would like to do. Is it the core operation of the business? Let's say you're UPS, okay? Everyone knows who UPS is. What is the core operation of their business? It's to deliver packages. So the people that touch the packages are zero away. They drive the truck, they load the truck, they sort it. They are the main workers. What's one away from that? Well, one away from that is the mechanic that fixes the truck. One away from that is the IT person who makes sure that the truck computer is working. What is two away from that? 2 steps away from the main product is the manager of the IT person who fixes the truck. He's the manager of the mechanic who fixes it. And so the further you get away from the core, the less really vital you are to the company. And so picking a company such as a pure tech company or a tech-enabled company gives you a little bit stronger feel for being part of the mission of the company. Now, there are other companies that we could say. We could call them operations supported by tech. Now, who is that? Well, that's pretty much everybody. because everybody today is a technology company. So just look through the list here. I see top left corner, I see Quaker Oats. That jumps out to me because I used to work there. I worked in their oatmeal factory in Cedar Rapids. So our business was selling oatmeal. It was shipping boxes of cereal out the door. And there were all kinds of people that touched the cereal, that cooked it, that pushed it around on fork trucks. But the most of us, it seemed, were support people. So I was in the IT systems. So we made sure that there were computers nearby so that they could log their statistics, or they could drive their fork trucks and know what they had loaded onto the semi, or to print the labels on the assembly line, or to run the machinery so that they could make sure that everything was mixed properly. The idea, though, is that every single company on this chart is going to need you if you're an IT person. Need you to a certain point. Because the CEO or the company manager or the factory leader is going to see you as a support person. And support always means it costs you something. It doesn't make you money, it costs you money. And so if they can outsource you, they will. If they can find a company that comes in as a consultant and says, listen, we'll take care of all your computer needs and we'll just do it for a 50% less than what you're paying for your full-time staff, they're probably going to do it. They're going to fire you. And so I recommend that when you pick a company, you try to find a job that is close to their core mission. For example, right now, I work at Grand Canyon University. What do we do at the university? Well, we teach students, and I'm the teacher. Now, there's a lot of people that work at the university. There are people that cut the grass. There are people that make phone calls. There are people that keep track of our legal issues. There are people that are in sports and PR. There are people that make food. There are people that build buildings, that drive buses. But really, what's the core business? We teach students. And so I feel a really strong commitment to the mission of my job because I'm right at the heart of what the company's about. So make sure that when you pick a technology job, you pick a company that's going to appreciate you. I'll give you one more example. So I was working in Cedar Rapids, as I mentioned. Rockwell Collins was a big employer in the city. Rockwell Collins is an engineering company. They make aerospace products. So they make radios and communications and flat panel displays. So who's the core employee there? Well, it's an engineering company, so it's the engineers. So how do you think the reputation was for people that were technical support to go help those engineers when their computers don't work? Well, the IT people were there, but honestly, I think they were pretty much despised as second or third-rate technology people. The engineers knew what they were doing, and they really were annoyed that tech support had to be there. And so pick your company based on how strongly you relate to their mission. So here's the three different categories. I said there are pure software companies, there's IT companies, there's tech-embedded companies, and then there's everybody else that has operations supported by tech. So consider that when you go and get your training because you want to make sure that you're going to be valuable. So here's another question. How much school do you want to do? How much does it take? So I just put a list here of 4 categories: IT, computer coding, engineering, and management. This is supposed to kind of show you from the entry level to maybe senior level. So it is possible to start in the IT world without any degree. You can go to high school, you can learn some experience, and you can start. You can also do that with coding. You can teach yourself something with online education. You can use YouTube if you like, or buy some books, and you can get started. However, it's not the best way. Now, the certifications are important in the IT world. So if you want to become a network administrator, you probably get certified from Microsoft. They have tests that cost anywhere from $150 to thousands of dollars, and you can get certified on their products, and you can put that on your resume, and so that people know that you know what you're talking about. You can get started with a boot camp or self-study in coding. Notice I didn't say software development. I said coding. So these are the junior level jobs where they will get you started, and then they'll check you out to see if you're any good. However, to be really successful, a degree is really recommended. So you advance yourself quickly, you learn so much, and you become really qualified for your job. If you want to get a senior level role or even a manager role, then a master's degree is probably in the future for you. Master's degree will help. It's not necessary unless you want to become the manager, but it's certainly very relevant. So that's how much school you should consider doing for each of those jobs. So think of the IT jobs. Let's draw a line between these first two categories and the rest. So certifications will probably be enough to get you started here, but if you want to advance a network to a network level, lots of experience will help you, or else probably a degree would be a good idea. Education in software dev, you might be able to get a job as a coder or a junior developer just by going to get your boot camp or self-taught or to get a degree. Or if you want to get more advanced, you're probably going to have lots of experience and get some degrees. So talking to the students that I know on campus, those that have gone the boot camp route, they struggle to get jobs. Like when I go to an event where there's a meetup and programmers get together and everybody's kind of networking, looking for jobs, there's a lot of boot camp people and they're unemployed. Because really, what can you learn in 12 weeks? Enough to get you started. But once you get into one of these jobs and one of these roles, you realize how much you don't know. There's just so much that you don't know. And so getting experience and education is really the key. So education for engineering jobs, well, sometimes you can become a technician in an engineering company with an associate's degree or maybe a 4-year degree. But usually a degree is pretty much guaranteed. You're not going to get an engineering job without one. It's a tough program. People go through engineering, and if you graduate, you can consider yourself very successful. They're challenging. Also, how much do you get paid? That's probably the most important question people ask. So here are some IT jobs. So let's take a look at tech support. They're probably at the low end at $40,000. A network administrator, $72,000, and then the information technology manager is $102,000. So where did these numbers come from? These came from Indeed.com. So this video was made in 2020. And this is their averages for the country. So if you live in San Francisco or New York, then just probably double everything that you see here. And if you live in the rest of the country, you adjust accordingly according to your cost of living. How about how much are developers paid? So you can see that a programmer, even on the low end, starts at a pretty good job rate. So programming is considered a more difficult, more challenging kind of a job. And so that goes all the way up into the mid 150s. Once again, if you're in California, double everything that you see there. How well are engineers paid? And so engineers are probably a little bit higher even than the software developers. Software engineering and software development, are they the same thing? They're similar. But anyway, the engineering title is probably going to get you a good job. Where do you want to go with your job? Well, usually the progression is you start at a junior role, senior role, become a project manager, become the manager. If you want to really climb in the company, you get away from any coding, any kind of a configuration or installation, and you become more of a strategic manager, vice president, or the CIO, which is the Chief Information Officer. And of course, these go with exponential pay raises, and you learn how to become a different person in these roles. Now, also, how to be successful. So if you want to be in the IT systems, what does it take to make you successful? Well, provide some evidence that you know what you're doing. So if you're in the IT world, you put these things right on the top of your resume. I am certified in whatever product that I'm trying to do. It's networks or databases or whatever it is. So this is a great way to demonstrate you know what you're doing. If you're a programmer or an engineer, a great way to provide examples of what you know is to create a portfolio. Literally show the people what website you've made. Take photos of the robot that you designed, or make a video of it. Make your own website with yourname.com, and it's going to be your resume. So even if you don't get them to the website, bring these papers to your job interview. Show photos of what you've made and talk about it. That is so much better than just saying, I got a degree, or I got some experience, I got a certification. Show us what you know, and then we'll probably hire you. The other is make sure that you get a degree. So there's a question about, is really college a waste of money? Because there are people out there that do success. They're successful without the degree. However, it's going to be because they have experience and they got the break that they needed. Look at this stack of resumes. Let's say you're tasked with hiring a new programmer, and you post your job and you get 500 resumes. The easiest way to sort them is to say we've got all these well-qualified people, and then these other people that don't seem to even have the degree. So it's just a sorting technique. You might say a degree is just a piece of paper. Well, so is a resume. It's just a piece of paper, but it will get you the interview. And so make sure that you know how valuable a degree is. Broaden your experience. So another way to be successful is not just to say that you're a technology expert. Hi, I'm an expert and I'm arrogant about it and I know how to make these networks work. And the rest of you obviously are idiots. That's the worst way to be successful. Instead, as an expert in your field, become a dual expert. So if you work in a hospital and you're the IT people in the hospital, understand the processes of how they run the hospital, how the nurses need your product, what their demands are and what their preferences are. And so you become not just an arrogant IT person, but you become their ally. Think of if you work in a factory and you are the computer person, you should probably know how those machines are maintained. You should know how the staffing is done. You should be in the role of a factory expert. Also, like, let's say you get a job in a casino working on their tools. Think of their culture and how they work. Make sure that wherever you are, you don't just stay the expert in your computer stuff. You don't just become the network person and don't know anything about the rest of it. You're ignorant in half of what your job is. You are supposed to be an expert in the business. So here's how to be successful. So provide some evidence of your skill, earn a degree, broaden your expertise, and that will make you successful. You know what would make this site successful? Is if you subscribed and liked the video. So my name is Shad Sluter, and I welcome you to look around. I can help you become a successful programmer. My job is to make you a software developer with computer science classes and programming and things that will lead to your degree. And if you really want to join, go check out GCU, where I teach at Grand Canyon University, and we'll see you soon.